One of the biggest mistakes we've ever made had to do with a campfire. Before going to bed, I communicated somebody needed to put the campfire out, and then I went to sleep. Hours later, I woke up hearing a strange sound outside, and I checked it out, and sure enough, the campfire was raging. They had poured water on it, but they didn't separate the wood, and so the residual heat sparked the campfire to reset. Thankfully, nothing came of it. No harm, no foul, but this was super embarrassing, and I completely understand if the 5 subscribers we have on this channel unsubscribe at this point. That was just one of the big mistakes that we've made over the years. Welcome to 3 tips to help your trips. This week I've got with me Jared. How's it going today, man?
Amazing.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Excellent. We're gonna talk about the biggest mistakes that we've made while backpacking, or at least the ones we can think of. I'm sure there's more. So, how often do you make significant mistakes while backpacking?
I would say every trip. I'm not perfect. Trying to take something out of every trip and learn something new, and I feel like I'm still making mistakes. What about you?
Right. I think anybody who tells you that their trips go perfectly to a T, I think they're making stuff up, because I think we all make mistakes, whether big or small, and so I'd say almost every trip as well. So we've got our 3 worst mistakes that we're going to share, hoping to come up with solutions so that you don't make these same mistakes. And then please tell us who had the best tips to help avoid those problems in the show description below. We'd appreciate that. All right, why don't you go first? What's your first one?
One of my biggest mistakes is not having a compass or beacon on a adventurous hike, I would say. We were doing our FKT and we were planning on going 50-ish miles, and 2 guys were going out with not a lot of map reading skills, but a lot of optimism. And optimism will only get you so far, unfortunately. We had a trip where we got a little lost, a little turned around, and we had to stay the night outside, and we were not prepared for that. We did not have the proper sleeping gear. We ended up having an emergency blanket with us. And really that came down to us not having good map skills. Right. And so I would say going out and practicing your map skills, I would say a key point to that is maybe go out somewhere familiar, or maybe go out somewhere that you're familiar with and see how that goes, and then challenge yourself. The next step on that is go somewhere totally new and see if you can read that map, and if not, maybe map compass isn't for you. Maybe you need to have something where you have an app or some type of GPS to where you know where you're going and you can track where you're going, and others can track you as well.
Yeah. All right, wow, a lot of good information right there. I think, so one of the main issues that Jared ran into that time was that they started to rely more on the trail signs, and they came across a critical junction where the trail sign was knocked down or just in the wrong spot, which can happen. I've actually seen trail signs that are just literally laying, like they're in shambles, laying in shards on a rock. And so you can't trust those, you have to know where you're going. So, and when you say, you mentioned beacon earlier, you're talking about like a locator beacon in case you do get lost beyond repair. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would, if you can 2-in-1 that, I would say a beacon to where people can follow you, to where if you lose contact, they can see where you are. And then also if you can have some type of GPS system on there so that you could track where you're going. My second tip would be foot care. Taking care of your feet on the trail is a really good investment. I was on a trip where my feet got wet early on, like the first few miles, and I didn't want to slow the group down, and so I thought I would just tough it out, and my feet ended up getting really wet. And update on the blisters, they're a little flappy. A lot of blisters because of it, and if I would have just stopped and take care of those feet, and I think there's 2 things I could have done. One, having 1 extra dry pair of socks. I did not have extra socks.
At least one.
Yeah, because I was trying to save weight, so I would bring extra socks. And then the second thing, whatever you need for foot care, whatever works for you, whether that be some type of powder to dry your feet out or moleskin to help those hot spots, foot care is essential. So
for sure. Okay. You took a risk and it did not pay off that time.
Correct.
Live and learn. All right. What's your last one?
Being a Midwest boy, I had an experience with a lot of ponds and lakes, but not a lot of rivers. And going to Yosemite, looking for that adventure, I thought it'd be a good idea to swim across the stream. once I jumped in that stream, I realized how much power a river and stream has. I don't know if I would have made it out of the water, especially coming back without Rocky being there, putting his arm out. It's like a scene out of a movie. Lots of adventure, but not something I'm probably gonna do again. I'm gonna respect the water and rivers and streams especially. New respect there for that.
And one of your buddies was in such support of that they were the one that actually filmed that.
I think that was you.
That was me. So I'll claim part of that mistake as well. I did not have the wisdom to kind of talk Jared down on that one. But all right. So those are your 3 biggest mistakes. Those are legit. I like those.
Carl, what's your first one?
So I've been planning trips for a long time, and in my early years, I did not have a gear list that I could share with everybody. I just was like, yeah, just bring this, bring that, make sure you have this and that, whatever. And it was very loosey-goosey. And honestly, it worked for the most part until we had a guy who decided to bring a fanny pack instead of a backpack. And so I said, so you brought a fanny pack for a backpacking trip. You don't even have a backpack on a backpacking trip. He's like, well, I can fit everything in a fanny pack. He had like his sleeping bag strapped onto the outside, so, you know, why do I need to bring a backpack? And of course, he was unwilling to share the load with some of the group gear, and it's funny now, but I realized that was probably more my issue than his issue because I did not provide a sufficient gear list. So, in fact, if you don't have a gear list, they have them all over the place. Your local outdoor store probably has one, but if you want our personalized gear list that has been refined over the years, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to send it to you, for sure.
Being on those trips, Carl, I appreciate the gear list. It really helps me see visually what I need to have, and I can check those things off, and I appreciate that. And then also, if we're on the trip and guys don't bring things, and then they're like, oh man, I should have brought this, or we should have brought that, or there's usually an ongoing joke of, if you would have used the gear list, we wouldn't be having this problem.
And to that point, just because you use the gear list does not make you immune from forgetting things. So,
Carl, what's your second one?
Second one, this one, I still kind of beat myself up over. I had a guy who was so excited to go on our trip, just like very enthusiastic, but he was suffering from an injury. And so he was working really hard to rehab it, but living out of state from him, I couldn't really monitor his success. And so I just was like, yeah, you wanna go, this is bad on our trip, let's go. And he tried his best, but he did not properly rehab it. And so we're about 2 miles in, on a trail that's gonna eventually lead to an off-trail session, which is pretty rigorous, and he's like, ooh, and his like back seized up, and at that point I should have said, this is not gonna end well. We need to turn you around right now, even though we're 7 hours from your house, even though all the guys are ahead of us, we need to turn you around, I need to walk you back to the trailhead.
We got a man with some back issues right now, so we're gonna share some gear, take some weight. We don't want him to throw the back out, so you gotta remember we're a team. So we gotta let the pride down and take some gear for each other too.
What did you take?
We got a hand, it's a MacGyver.
Give me that hand.
It's in the bag, bro.
Wait a minute, what's
it?
No, do you want it? Like, what?
Hey Derek, what weight did you take for
Actually,
Chris?
maybe.
Well, you're taking a lot.
Actually, maybe take it because I need room for that.
Yeah,
Trying to manage somebody with an injury for the duration of the trip, being the people pleaser that I am, it just didn't work out well. And so I wish I had the confidence to call it quits for somebody else as the trip leader.
That's a tough one because, like you said, people travel, people are excited to be there, and the last thing you want to do is like burst that person's bubble on.
Right.
Sorry you can't make it, but
Yeah.
and really I think the only way you know that is from the experience that you have to learn from that.
Yeah, I mean, net result, we ended up like carrying, what, 5 extra pounds per person from his backpack.
Carl, what's your third one?
Third one is preparing the people that you go with for wildlife encounters.
Oh God! Get in the water, Chris!
You just never know what you're gonna expect out on the trail. So there you have it. So who had the best 3 tips to help your trips? Please comment below. We would appreciate your feedback. And please like and subscribe to our channel if you're looking to make your trips
Better than they already are.